Okay, moving to the next sessions. The next session theme was drawing on multiple language to enrich the expressions. We have among us the eminent personality named as Dr. Amit Ranjan, Mr. Debasis Mohapatra, Dr. Ramesh Mallick, and again we have Mr. Debasis Mohapatra in the chair. We request everyone to have your chair.
Okay, this topic is very sensitive in the sense that multi languages and multilingualism both are different. India is a multilingual country in the sense that we have many languages, but multilingualism is not like this. Multilingualism means that one who carries many languages, in the sense that one who acquire basic language skills in one language. What are they? Basic language skills: listening, speaking, reading, and understanding. If somebody has both the skills, means the four skills, then we can say that he is a multilingual. And monolingual and multilingual, why we do speak in multilingualism? Basically, multilingualism has more benefits than monolingualism. Today, we are living in science society. We do believe on science. Sometimes we believe on culture and mythology, but we do believe more on science. Today, science says that if somebody is a multilingualism, if we compare with a monolingualism, then some disease like Parkinson will attack somebody in age of 75 if somebody is a monolingual. If somebody is bilingual, then it will attack on age of 80 or 85. You see the benefits of the language. And other thing is that multilingualism has more benefit in the sense that the knowledge power generation. Every language has indigenous culture. If the language somebody will learn, then somebody must learning through language somebody's culture. If language dies, then culture dies. Therefore, we are living in multilingual society. And more benefit of multilingualism, what recently the previous panelists, they are discussing and talking about it, music. The two concepts are there in the multilingualism. The one is domestication and foreignization. If something we borrow from a knowledge, power, nexus language like English or any, maybe Sanskrit, maybe the French, German, any language, and we implant in our language in our own way, then that is called domestication. And recently they were talking about the music, how they have or have been that domesticating the music in our language. And therefore, we are very much attracted towards the song and the music, what they have borrowed from other culture, other languages, but that does not looks that they have borrowed. This is kind of that the flavor or the new flavor they have created and generated. Another benefits of multilingualism is like this, that we are living in a multicultural society and diversity within unity. And we maintain the diversity within unity, then we have to have that learn and acquire the more languages, so that we can understand each other, not only the culturally, but also literally. And also we do translation. Why do you translate text from one language to another? If somebody knows the many language, they can do it, otherwise they cannot. This is the benefit of multilingualism. And we have to maintain the multilingualism. If you take the statistical, I can give you the statistical data. Actually, this is the myth when we speak about that India is a multilingual country. And whatever the percentage, it is very negligible, maybe the 7% or 8% people of India, they are multilingual. And out of 8%, and 4%, half 50% goes to the tribal population and the tribal people. They really maintain the multilingualism, we do not. Because the percentage of the literacy, whatever, and the percentage of the business entrepreneurship and the higher education, if you take total percentage, maybe that total population of 4 and 5%, we maintain the multiple languages. Then we have to discuss about how can we enhance the multilingualism. Otherwise, the time will come, because every alternative days that we are counting, and one language, they are vanishing from the world. And it is one day it will be very crisis to that conserve and preserve the languages also. Then I am switching over, I am giving the mic to my dear colleagues. They can carry out the discussion. Then in the meantime, we will have it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. What you've pointed out is very interesting, that multilingualism is kind of overrated in the country, that probably it's only 8% you are saying, which is baffling to me. But we have to maybe negotiate the meaning of multilingualism. It's not like native proficiency which is multilingualism. Even if you have a basic knowledge of different languages, that we can make it a bridge language. Let's say one does not understand English very well, but it works as a bridge language between two people. It's still multilingualism, because the idea is to communicate. So in that way, I think India is very strong, and that is one of our core strengths, that everybody knows 3 or 4 languages, however shoddily, however shabbily, but we do know 2 or 3, 4 languages, everybody, because we have to negotiate. Every state shares its border. Odisha shares its border with Bengal and Andhra. So down in Gopalpur, people would know a little bit Telugu. Up north, they would know a little bit Bengali, even if not proficiently. And one does understand Hindi from Bollywood. One does understand English if one has gone to school and studied English as a subject. So this is one of our core strengths, that we are able to negotiate in 3 or 4 languages. And this is great advantage, because this gives us the ability to understand each other. And in terms of literature, the pursuit of translation is very important. To translate, so right now what happens is mostly translations are done into English, because English is the industry in which the money is there. And the local publishers, vernacular publishers, even in Hindi, which is such a big language. By the way, Hindi as a big language is also a myth. Hindi is also spoken in a very narrow zone. It's the variants of Hindi which is largely. Yeah, but it's variants of Hindi. It's not Hindi that everybody speaks. Somebody speaks Avdi, somebody speaks Rajasthani, Maithili, Bhojpuri. It's not exactly Hindi, but it's said that everybody understands Hindi. Everybody's understanding of Hindi is a very urban language. It's only in cities where you need to exchange information, and through Bollywood, that people understand Hindi. Do not understand it, let's say, in a literary way, so to say. But what I'm trying to say is that English has such a big market, because there is the financial capital in publishing is in English. Yeah, is in English, And so that is an advantage and a disadvantage. The advantage is that English is a bridge language, even though understood by a very few people, let's say 5% people across the country. But still, it's a bridge language between the northeast and the north, south, and the rest of the country, for example. And so it's very important to have works translated into this bridge language, but also other languages. So I've seen this trend in Kerala, which is the most educated state, and they translate everything into Malayalam. So you see Latin American novels of Marquez or poetry of Neruda translated to Malayalam, and not English. They have the English version, but they make an effort to translate everything to Malayalam. So it's also about a literary and political will to disseminate more and more literature, and which of course one needs state intervention as well. Only the private players, only the publishers cannot do it. There has to be state intervention where the government has the will to promote culture and literature by translating more and more texts into the local language, as well as the bridge language which other people require. So for example, if you're in Calcutta, Bengali is not the only language, or Bengalis are not the only people living in Calcutta. It's merely 40% people who are Bengalis. They're Biharis, they're Chinese, they're Anglo-Indians, they're all sorts of people who are not talked about. So you need English as a bridge language, apart from Bengali as a local language. So we have to understand it in layers, this matter of multilingualism and translation. The other issue that you raised about the globalization, which referring to the previous panel on music, the globalization has always existed. It's we only think of because the West wants us to think that there's globalization now, but globalization has forever existed, and this was the center of globalization. When especially let's say in 17th century, during Dara Shikoh's time, his military general was a eunuch, his spiritual advisor was Sarmad, who was a Jew from Kashan in Iran. He had a friend called Father Buzi from Spain. He translated the Upanishads from Sanskrit to Persian, which got translated to Latin by a French visitor, which influenced the German romantics, which influenced the British romantics, and so on and so forth. So this was the center of knowledge, and there was global flow of knowledge from east to west, which we fail to acknowledge, and which is why we have such a strong multilingual culture, and not just multilingual culture, but multicultural culture, syncretic culture, where people have lived together for hundreds of years, because we have had that in our fabric always, to live together and to assimilate. And so for example, in America, the people who migrated to America were, you would be surprised, Germans more than 30%. Nobody knows a word of German in America because everybody had to assimilate to the American English, and just American English. If you speak in the Indian accent, you are an outcast, and that's why the Indians who go there quickly start speaking in American accents, which sounds very fake, but that's how it is. But India, there are Yemenis people living in Hyderabad who still speak Arabic, carry their culture. There are Siddhis from Ethiopia who came in the 11th century, who still carry their culture. And so there are all these little languages of the migrants that came, and they've been able to preserve their culture, their traditions for nearly 1,000 years. So that kind of diversity in unity has been a part of our fabric. So this is nothing new. In fact, the West needs to learn from us what multilingual, multiculturalism, and living together under intense circumstances with lesser resources is like. To your views, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Amit. Good evening to all of you. First, I would like to thank my elder brother, Manu Das, for giving me such a position for sharing this dais. See, the topic is drawing on multiple languages to enrich our expression. If you see any book on language or linguistics, the first definition of language is the medium of communication. It is the medium of expression. How you express. If you know many languages, means if you are a polyglot or a multilingual, you can express wherever you can go. This is, I think this is the topic here. See, if we take an example of our country, India, we all know that India is a multilingual country. See, in this country, if we see the Constitution of India, there is a schedule called 8th schedule. We have 22 languages there. We have 6 language families in India. We have 6 languages called classical status language. First is Tamil, then Sanskrit, then Malayalam, then Kannada, then Telugu, then of course our Odia also there. What I want to say is, being a multilingual, not necessarily that your expression is always carry a good expression. See, before this panel, we had a panel on music. They were telling that we have so much influence on Odia music, etc., etc. Just I am giving an example. Tote pyar karibi koncham koncham. This is an Odia song's line. I am just giving one side. Tote pyar karibi koncham koncham. This is influence. Or you are copying from other language. Koncham is a Telugu word. Means little. So that kind of multilingual, I think we don't need to express ourselves. After this panel, we have another panel on drawing. See, we have Ramhari Bhaina and Ramakant and Prabir also there. See, that painting or drawing does not have any particular language. If you see the painting, you can understand, oh, this is the theme given by Ramhari Jana. That is also a part of expression. It can be a sign language. It can be a language of, what you call, his own theme, and you can also understand. So what my point is,
I made a distinction very clearly. This is that India is not a multilingual country. India is a country where we can find multiple languages. And multiple languages doesn't mean that multilingual country. Multilingual in the sense that one who carries many languages and use also many languages wherever required. That is why we have studied in 3 language formula. First one is your mother tongue, second is English, third is your choice, Sanskrit or Hindi. This is called multilingualism. And I have given also the percentage. And the percentage is very less, 8%, 8 maybe the 8 or maximum 8%. And second thing also, I discuss with domestication of the themes and what the last panelists they were discussing. And right now, Debasis Bhai has given the example. That is not called domestication. That is foreignization, whatever you have borrowed and implanted your language. That is not called that domestication. Whatever you have borrowed from other languages or other culture, and you made something very that culture-centric or ethnocentric in your culture. They have sang a very good song. You cannot find that is borrowed from different languages or different culture. That has to be done. And I don't agree with that kuncham. Kuncham is a very bad expression and very bad coining of a Telugu word into Odia. Odia song, it should not be. It should not be. That is not called that use of multilingualism. No. But today, the time has come that whatever that invention done in the world, that is done in English, not any other languages. That is why knowledge is centered in a language that is English. and discovery happens in only one language, that is called English. And the knowledge has to transfer into other languages. What my dear friend, Kerala friend, give in the example that really that knowledge text has to be translated into the mother tongue, not mother tongue to other tongue. That is why if you take the example of Odisha, it is very different. We people translate Odia text into English. It should be done. But the percentage of the knowledge text has to be translated into our mother tongue. Once upon a time, Pandit Nilakant Das discussed or told that new water has to be new water has to float into that Odia. That is why they are not translated. They are transcreated or manipulated the text into Odia. That's, Garden, Dasanayak, Tennyson, and the Princess, and the Pranayini. And similarly, also Charles Dickens, A Tale of Two Cities, not translated. If you see the preface of the book, he has not mentioned anything, only the Lekhaka, Godavari Samisra. Godavari Samisra foreignized the text. But my dear English friends, they discuss that 1817 has been subversed. It is different issue altogether. I am not bringing into that issue. But whatever they have done, that is why they have really created some national literature. We are proud of that. And that has to be done. That process has to be continued, which is not happening. Why it is not happening? This is a very big question that if you go back to 1970s and 80s, wherever the 4 or 5 universities of Odisha, whoever the professors in the whatever the department, take the geography, history, philosophy, chemistry, political science, they used to write the essays in their mother tongue, not in English. Vidyadhara Misra, our historian Bhavan Shankar Bhanchan Rai, our Das, Manmadnath Das, ସମସ୍ତେ ଓଡ଼ିଆରେ ଲେଖିଛନ୍ତି। ସିହ୍ନା ସାହେବ ଜୋଗ୍ରାଫିର ସେ ବି ଓଡ଼ିଆରେ ଲେଖିଛନ୍ତି। ଏଇଥିପାଇଁ ଲେଖିଛନ୍ତି ଦ୍ୟାଟ୍ ଦେ ୱାଣ୍ଟେଡ୍ ଟୁ, ଏମିତି ବି ସାଇନ୍ସ ଅଲସୋ, ପରିଜା, ପ୍ରାଣକୃଷ୍ଣ ପରିଜା, ଦ ଆସ୍ପିରେସନ୍ ଅଫ୍ that apple tree. So whatever that new invention and discovery happens in one language, that is called English, that has to be translated into the language which is growing. The Odia is growing, Kannada is growing, Telugu is growing. They are all the language of progressive language. They are growing on. They are trying to reach the height of English. Therefore, the knowledge text has to be translated into the mother tongue, not from mother tongue into other tongue. Another benefit of multilingualism is this, that we have to acquire the satisfactory knowledge on mother tongue. If you have satisfactory knowledge on mother tongue, English is nothing before you. You can speak in good English, you can write in good English, you can understand also good English, nothing to worry. I studied in Odia medium. I have, after my intermediate science, I shifted into Odia honors, and also I had Odia MA in Utkal University. But I can speak the English, whatever I can manage it. There is no problem at all. I never faced any problem. But why not others? I learn English in the class 5. Maybe that our older generation, they had English in class 6th. Now the baby is learning, infant is learning in class 3. And what is the situation of the multilingualism now? They cannot write in good English, also they cannot speak good English. I am sure the cognitive ability happens in your mother tongue, not in your other tongue. You can have a dream only your mother tongue. And whatever you will acquire, that happens from your college, from your culture, through your mother tongue. It will never in second language, it will never in third language, it will never in fourth language. And one can also maintain many languages as their mother tongue. There is no problem at all. And but it is not happening really. We have multiple schools, we have also multiple choice. Somebody is that taking Odia as optional. Odia will be third language, English will be first language, Hindi will be first language, and English will be second language. We are not maintaining a policy where we can reach our goal, where we can reach not only our goal, we can create a national and international forum. Thank you very much. I am shifting into my dear friends.
Thank you very much, sir. I beg to differ on some points here. One is this constant beating of English, that we need to do things in our mother tongue, not in English. So this is also a problem because English is very much a part of our heritage. तो अंग्रेजी में ही बात कर रहे हैं इस वक्त और फिर अंग्रेजी को अंग्रेजी से प्रॉब्लम भी है.
I am not speaking that, I am not telling that we should not have knowledge on English. But I am telling that simultaneously we have to be multilingual. My point is that we have to survive in this world, and in order to survive in this world, we have to be a multilingual. Otherwise, we will face lot of problems, lot of constraints, whatever happening in our culture and society, also on education. And I have given the example to you.
तो हिंदी में इस वक्त इसलिए बोल रहा हूँ कि आपने कहा कि मातृभाषा में ही हम सपने देखते हैं, फॉर एग्जांपल. पर मेरी मंशा ये है कि मैं सपने अंग्रेज़ी में देखता हूँ, और मैं अपने एक्सपीरियंस से कह रहा हूँ, अपने अनुभव से कह रहा हूँ आपको कि मैं अंग्रेज़ी में सोचता हूँ, अंग्रेज़ी में ही सपने देखता हूँ. तो ये है आपका अनुभव कहाँ से आ रहा है, where your experience is coming from. So this whole jingoistic beating about the mother tongue कि और मातृभाषा क्या है, उस पर भी थोड़ा विचार करना पड़ेगा कि मातृभाषा क्या होती है. तो मातृभाषा तो माँ की भाषा है, और माँ की भाषा वो है जो ऑप्रेस्ड भाषा है. माँ तो ऑप्रेस्ड है, women have been oppressed, they haven't had the economic opportunity in this country ever. So it is the voice of oppression which is जिसको हम महिमा मंडित करते हैं, जैसे कि देवियों को महिमा मंडित करते हैं, लेकिन सोसाइटी तो पेट्रियार्कल ही है, पितृसत्तक समाज ही है. So this whole talk about mother tongue in itself is problematic. Oh, let me
finish it. Mother tongue doesn't mean that mother's tongue.
It should. That is what it literally should. But if we are trying to make it mean something else, then we are betraying both the mother and the tongue. So we have to, the whole point is to deconstruct language also, to see what our words mean. And English is, let's say, English is a weak language. We are saying that Odia is a progressing language, or Telugu is a progressing language. I don't agree. These are classical languages, as you have said, existent for 1,000, 2,000 years. Tamil is 2,500 years old. English is a merchant's language. दुकानदारों की भाषा है, वो तो ट्रेड करने आए थे. They're not literary people. They were copying the French and the Italians up till the 19th century. So 19th century English literature, if you see, it's all plagiarized from French and Italian texts. Even though they ruled the world, the sun didn't set on their empire. So English has become the language of power because America won the Second World War. It's as simple as that. They have the money, they have the dollars, they import all, they drain all the brain, and therefore English is the knowledge economy right now. It will change. It will become Chinese in 50 years. Then we'll say start talking things about Chinese. But English being a part of our heritage for 300 years, we should also acknowledge that and not just keep beating about it that English is this and we need knowledge economy in the local languages. There are a couple of problems. Now we have to go back to Dr. Ambedkar for this. Why Dr. Ambedkar wanted to, and also Chinua Achebe in Things Fall Apart says, colonization does not happen because somebody comes from outside. It happens because there's something inherently wrong with us. So we were weak, that we did not want our people educated. Odisha's literacy was 5% in 1947. All of India's literacy was 16%. So we never had the intention of teaching our people. There was clearly a casteist bias in it. So Dr. Ambedkar said, learn English, wear suits, because English will set you free, English will set you into a globalized economy. So it's very important, and mother tongues are not dying. We all know our mother tongues very well. It is about literary practice definitely. जैसा कि उर्दू में हुआ, Urdu and Hindi are different only in terms of literature. As a language, I think they are absolutely the same. Because language is decided by grammar, by its syntax, by its usage, verbs. करता है, करती है, उर्दू में भी करता है बोलते हैं, हिंदी में भी करता है बोलते हैं. अब उसमें द्वार हो गया, दरवाज़ा हो गया, वही फ़र्क है. It's only the nouns that differ in Urdu, and so it's a political matter. But Urdu, in terms of literature, Hindi is a modern language, 100 years old, 150 years old, constructed politically after the independence, where Sanskrit words were introduced. तो जो राजभाषा वाली हिंदी है वो तो किसी को समझ में नहीं आती है. संपादित, अपादित, परिमार्जित तो किसी को नहीं समझ आती है. तो but Urdu has had 1000 years of investment by poets. मीर थे, गालिब थे, फैज़ थे. तो no language is sweet or harsh. It is the investment we put. It is the cultural, literary investment that we put in a language that makes it rich. And so Urdu has that. And similarly, English is a language which has had investment from the colonial time, and therefore it's a rich language. और हाइब्रिडिटी की बात हम कर रहे थे, फॉर एग्जाम्पल द कुंजम एग्जाम्पल दैट सर गेव. सो ये तो पूरा कंट्री हाइब्रिड है. पोटैटो इज नॉट आवर्स, नथिंग इज आवर्स, एवरीथिंग इज इम्पोर्टेड. थिंक ऑफ इट, वी आर इम्पोर्टेड. वाई आर वी ब्राउन? वाई आर वी नॉट वाइट, ब्लैक और मंगोलॉइड? बिकॉज वी आर मिक्सड अप. वी वर इन्वेडेड बाय एवरीबडी एंड वी गॉट मिक्सड अप. दैट इज वाई. सो दिस इज अ कंट्री ऑफ confluence anyway right from the beginning. So this puritanism that we try to push, this purist approach, is detrimental to our history. We are not purists by nature. By nature we have always mixed up. And so you see Bhojpuri takes up, Bhojpuri is a very good language because it takes any word from anywhere. Train में वा लगा दीजिए, train वा बन गया. Va and ya laga ke, they assimilate everything into it, and that's what English has done. English has a very weak vocabulary, so all the cool words in English are the French ones, rendezvous, tat, so on and so forth. Because it's been able to been able to assimilate. And the best literature in English does not come from America, which is the hub of English right now, or Britain, but from where? From Africa, from the Caribbean, which is chutney music, which is between the Indians and the African slaves. The chutney music from the Caribbean, or all the music that now we are copying, whether it's rap, hip-hop, blues, jazz, everything is black. These are all hybrid forms from the slaves, and they imbued English with their forms. They speak in their own manner. I want to go. What's up, man? And so man became man, but here, even while talking English, we want to sound like the British. That's our problem, that we never owned it. We still consider it a foreign language despite 300 years of engagement with it. Or that we don't want to own Persian despite the fact that we had 800 years of Persian. But we want to own Sanskrit, which is, we lost it in the ancient time itself, to its variants later in Prakrit, Hindi, and every other language is a derivative of Sanskrit in some form or the other. But grammatically we lost it long ago. But we don't want to own other languages that came along with us. So the point I'm trying to make is hybridity is a part of our culture. We need to push it. Good literature is that which pushes against the limits of language. जो आम तौर पे हम भाषा यूज़ करते हैं, उसको नए तरीके से इस्तेमाल करना, वही अच्छा साहित्य होता है. तो किस भाषा के शब्द इस्तेमाल कर रहे हैं ये मायने नहीं रखता है, बल्कि उसको कैसे इस्तेमाल कर रहे हैं, उसमें कितना फिनेस, कितनी आत्मीयता, कितना पोएटिसिटी, कितने पोएटिक हम हो सकते हैं, वो हमारे कल्चर से ज़रूर जा रहा है। बिकॉज ऑफ सच ए यूटिलिटेरियन कल्चर, इतना कंज्यूमरिस्ट हम बन गए हैं कि वो जीवन में जो कविता है उसको पढ़ने की क्षमता हमारी कम हो रही है. सो वी नीड टू डिस्कवर unravel the poetic language much more than argue about the puritanism, purist, being a purist in a language की borrowing से इस language से या इस language को ज़्यादा महत्व दिया जा रहा है. Being multilinguals, we already have multiple languages thriving together. Sir.
Thank you, Amit ji. And I was listening to both Ramesh and Amit, both are my good friends in the field of linguistics. See, I do teach language and linguistics. If I wish to teach now language, there are some features of or characteristics of language in general. Suppose language is social, language is human, etc., etc. One of the most interesting feature is it has an essence of arbitrariness. The word arbitrary, I think you know that. There is no connectivity between sound and image. For example, I am giving you an example. An animal called dog. That is kukka in Telugu, ne in Tamil, pero in Spanish, hund in German, kukuro in Odia, and sobaka in Russian. So this says, if you have an image inbuilt, if you are going to Bapuji Nagar or Sahid Nagar in Bhubaneswar to buy on laptop or mobile smartphone, first we have to know that what are the inbuilt features are there in that particular that which we are going to buy. That means multiple or multilingualism or even multicultural is an what you call it, gives fragrance or flavor that is nice. What my friend Ramesh was telling, that mother tongue is important for all of us. That is true. Because one Odia poet, maybe Fakirmohan Senapati, he was telling that heu pochoke se nikrushto mo matrubhasha motte shreshto. Okay. So that means you can come from Dubai, from America, and after coming to Bhubaneswar airport, you can put your what you call dress like that, that I am so and so. But still, you are an Odia by heart. That is the point he was trying to tell all of you. See, we are here to discuss this interesting topic, that if we focus or if we stress or if we know many languages, we can express ourselves in a better way. That can be. But that is always not true, I think. See, for example, once I went to Mysore for that Central Institute of Indian Languages. This example I might have given you earlier, I think in some functions. See, that after reaching there in that place, I have given 100 rupees and he has to give me back 20 rupees. He said, 20 rupees change kudu. See, 20 rupees change, 3 words are English. Only that kudi is from Kannada. So that means not in Odisha or not in Kerala or not in West Bengal, everywhere this hybridity is going on. See, one example I am giving you here. Suppose, not from any book, for this, from this auditorium itself. Suppose Misra title. Kedar Misra is here, my friend. This Misra title you can see in UP also. in Bihar also. The surname. Suppose all of us, we three, myself Debasis, you can find in West Bengal. This Amit, you can find in UP also. Ramesh, you can find everywhere. Paresh is here, Paresh Rawal, you can know that Paresh Patnaik can be Paresh Rawal. Manu Bhai is there, Manu Bhai Pom Pom, you can say. That means our names are also multilingual. This says, Ramakant is here, Ramakant, you can see, Ramakant Agnihotri is a good linguist. See, that means there is no necessary that you have to learn or you have to by heart many languages. You can see the scenario everywhere that we are multilingual because of this surrounding, because of our experience. And our experience only carries our expression. If we know 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 languages, you can express better self. So this is my point, that multilingualism and multiculturalism gives us flavor or fragrance in our everyday life.
Thank you very much. We are going to wind up the session. Let me clarify one thing. I am bringing into Tove Skatnab Kangas. Tove Skatnab Kangas has given a definition of mother tongue. What exactly mother tongue is? Mother tongue means that a child acquires a language that is called her or his mother tongue. Not learning, it is acquired. Automatically, if one acquire a language from the environment. And second is that she or he has 2 ability of learning, speaking, reading and understanding. If somebody has these 2 characteristics, then we can measure that is mother tongue. The second thing is, I am bringing into Tove's husband, Robert Philipson. Robert Philipson says that English is a killer language. He has a book. Why it is killer language? That the dominance of a major language creates that environment to shifting one language into that language. You try to understand my point. If you take example of the world, the many language, why they are vanishing? They are vanishing because they are shifting into another language. Language shifting and language death, both are reciprocal. And last I am going to wind up it is that which I am not agrees with my dear brother Debasis Bhai, that you see the expression comes from your knowledge and power system. Knowledge comes from the language and also from your culture. If today a tribal language dies, then their culture dies. Language and culture, they are reciprocal. I am taking into Jury Lotman. Jury Lotman has given a very good that example. If a surgeon goes to operate somebody's heart, he cannot neglect the body. Doctor jodi kahar gote heart operation karibo, se body ki neglect kari paribani, ठीक anesthesia dabo. Anesthesia न देले तार से fail हवा operation. Similarly, the relation between language and culture is like this. And whatever happens in your culture, that through your language. And the language carries your culture to next generation. That is why the culture, a language dies, then culture dies. If your culture dies, your indigenous knowledge system dies. Then in this sense that if somebody will acquire or learn the many language, then he will acquainted with the many culture, and through that culture he will acquire many knowledge system, which knowledge gives you power. In that sense, we have to have learn and acquire the language and also the literary tradition and cultural tradition, whatever we have. And thank you very much. And I am also thanking to my panelist, my Bada Bhai, Debasis Bhai, and also Amit ji. And I am also expressing my heartful thanks to Manu Bhai, who has given me such kind of opportunity to speak about and took a part in this kind of discourse. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for these wonderful sessions and creating the value between the language and the culture. Thank you again. This session was supported by Indian Oil Corporation Limited as our associate sponsor. We are grateful to IOCL.